Thank you. Thanks a lot. Yeah, then you.
This is how London's top cop likes to relax.
How old is he now? Is he 6 or 7?
Horse riding is his passion.
When you're out riding, you can't think about anything else. The whole world goes away. The job goes away.
It's a welcome break from those grillings from MPs. The worst thing about his job, he says. This is Oliver, his favourite horse in the Met.
He's a star. Nothing's too much fuss. He doesn't seem to be too demanding.
How does he compare with politicians?
Well, I've never ridden a politician, so I wouldn't know.
Being the commissioner is the most stressful and relentless job in British policing. So what does Sir Bernard do when he gets a day off? This.
And so, as football fans stream to the Chelsea-Arsenal match, some spot the boss on patrol, volunteering on the front line in the mounted branch.
Can I just say it's the first football supporter I've seen with an FT.
There's a lot in Chelsea.
And today's stint isn't a one-off.
During the last 5.5 years, I've got round every football ground in London, and this is the last one.
Sir Bernard Hogan-Howe rode to the rescue after the Met had lost 2 commissioners in the space of only 3 years, but he faced a baptism of fire. 2011 and London was burning. Rioting spread across the boroughs. Sir Bernard took over just 6 weeks later. The police and some communities seemed as far apart as ever.
How frightening is that to see that 26 boroughs have got serious disturbances?
Yeah, well, it's terrifying really, because I think what it means is that order's broke down and that thin veneer of civilization has disappeared. And that's got to be a worry for all of us, because the weak suffer in those circumstances. So for me, one of the major things we've got to do was to try and understand what happened, make sure it didn't happen again.
And so one thing he did was to order a reduction in the use of the controversial tactic stop and search, which often targeted young black men. And he championed a new approach he called total policing.
You just have a total war on crime. You know, the criminals do not have bureaucratic meetings with minutes to go out and rob a bank or to, nick a car. They just get on with it. So we've got to be as nimble, thorough, and at times ruthless as they've been.
In the last year, knife and gun offences have gone up, but overall, on his watch, crime fell nearly 20%, at a time when the Met had to save £600 million. Five-a-side football once a week has kept the Commissioner active, a release from those 14-hour days. He says he chose team players without egos to be part of his top squad. And it was the ultimate of team events which proved a highlight. The Olympic summer of 2012. The eyes of the world were fixed on London. It was an obvious terror target.
Of course, we had the disruption of G4S, if you remember. So they weren't able to deliver on their part of the contract. The military had to come in, so all the plans had to be rejigged. In the 6 months preceding the Olympics, people didn't notice, but we arrested, I think it was 36 people related to terrorism issues and charged, I think it was nearly 30 of them.
And the games passed without any security scare. But 2 years later, in 2014, the terror threat level was raised with the emergence of the so-called Islamic State. It prompted these demonstrations of how the police were prepared. The Met says at least 10 terror plots have been stopped in the past 2 years. And unlike other European capitals, there's been no big attack in London. But there's been speculation counter-terror powers could be transferred from Scotland Yard to the National Crime Agency in the future.
If we'd had, as they had in France in November of 15, 130 people murdered, imagine that had happened in London. We'd all be saying, what the hell happened there? Why didn't we know it's going to happen? Why didn't we respond better? I suspect by now we would have changed quite a lot of things. And I would argue that at the time of a severe threat, and we were agreeing that there is a severe threat, you don't start disrupting your defences. What do they call him?
Victor.
Victor? Victor? Hello? Hello.
Trying to build good relationships with London's various communities has been a priority.
So your English is very good?
I can do better.
No. Well, it's better than my French.
Probably, yeah.
And the relationship with City Hall has been vital.
Every time Boris the Mayor talked about you, we went one up the league table, but you'd say fifth.
Yeah.
You've worked with two mayors. Boris, you're first. If you were to describe the man in 3 words?
A joy, loyal, and very intelligent. So, it's good company. In fact, I was only reflecting the other day that obviously over the years I've had lots of meetings with him. And every meeting I've left him, I felt better. I don't think I've had a meeting where you felt, crikey, this is really going to be problematic. That's a real skill.
But the relationship with the press has been strained at best. Some national newspapers turned their fire on him. He believes it was, in part, revenge for journalists being arrested for alleged phone hacking and payments to public officials.
If there's a headline saying, "This is the man who shames British policing," which you will have known someone wrote, how does that feel? How does that touch you?
I know that they've got an agenda, so I don't accept that at all. They're entitled to their view, and they've had a go at a lot of people, but they've not always had a good look at themselves. And I think if they look themselves in the mirror sometimes, they know that we've been on the side of right, and they haven't.
Another low was Operation Midland, the bungled investigation into claims of a VIP paedophile ring at Westminster in the 70s and 80s.
Is it fair to say that probably one of your hardest moments was having to go to a D-Day veteran to apologise, having to go to the widow of a former Home Secretary to say, "We disrupted your lives, people who are elderly, and I'm sorry we got it badly wrong"?
Of course. Nobody wants to do that sort of thing. This wasn't the first time I've seen families and said sorry. It's always very demanding. It's not easy to accept that your organisation end up damaging people. But I think it's entirely the right thing to do, to say sorry and point out how you're going to stop it happening again.
He could be staying on longer, but the new mayor, Sadiq Khan, extended his contract by only a year. It could have been 3. But Sir Bernard denies there was a rift.
Sadiq Khan, the new mayor, in 3 words?
I've enjoyed working with Sadiq. Different type of person, different party. He's also another bright guy. He started out as a lawyer, and at times, he was I think he was a human rights lawyer who took on the police. And I find him a balanced individual who listens clearly to the evidence. Hi guys, how much are the cakes?
Sir Bernard retires at the end of the month. There'll be more time for horse riding, holidays with his wife Marion, and even singing lessons. But after nearly 40 years in uniform, he'll be handing over the reins to a new commissioner.
It's part of the London that I love, which is just there's so many people, there's so much happening. So for cops, what better place could you have to work? But for me as Commissioner, what better place could you have to police? I'm proud that I've had the opportunity, and this is quite a nice way to finish with it.